Hello everybody, this is TipTop MTG here today with another Magic the Gathering video. In today's video, we are going to be going over all the spoilers released today, that being June 10th, 2020 for Core Set 2021. So I'm basically just going to break these down card by card, give you my first reactions or first opinions on them, and just tell you what I think about the cards. So why don't we jump right into this? Starting off, we have Valorous Steed. It's a 5-cost white creature unicorn 3/3 with vigilance, and it says when it enters the battlefield, create a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance. So you are getting basically a 5/5 with vigilance, but split among two different creatures. That's definitely interesting in a limited environment, but I don't see it seeing much play in standard unless it's in some weird Thassa deck. But Thassa has much better targets to flicker, so yes. Next, we have Alpine Watchdog. It's a 2-cost creature dog 2/2 with vigilance, and that's it. But it is nice for dog tribal, which is going to be something needed, again, in limited. Next, we have Rambunctious Mutt. It's a 5-cost creature dog 3/4. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls. So, again, not that great. Needed for dog tribal, nice and limited. Because, say you're playing a dog deck, you can have this be just a dog, or you can have this be a removal spell at the same time. Because, obviously artifact and enchantment removal is not always needed. Next, we have Light of Promise. Now, here's our first card that I think could see some play, maybe. It is a 3-cost white enchantment aura. Enchanted creature has, whenever you gain life, put that many +1/+1 counters on this creature. So this is actually a card called Sunbond, but cost 1 less. And so there is already a somewhat powerful mono white life gain deck, and I think this fits well into it. It essentially gives you a third source of life trigger when, like, normally there's a Johnny's Pridemate, Heliod, and then there's the actual Johnny, which can create a Johnny's Pridemates. This adds another payoff for gaining life. Now that deck normally gets a bunch of 1/1, like one life here, one life there. But if you have Heliod on the field and like in a Johnny's Pridemate, you might have a 10/10 Johnny's Pridemate that then doubles its power every turn, basically. So yeah, very, very potent, very, very potentially scary. We'll have to see what the meta shakes out to be. Next, we have Frantic Inventory. It's a 2-cost white, or not 2-cost white, 2-cost blue instant, draw a card, then draw cards equal to the number of cards named Frantic Inventory in your graveyard. So, in limited, this being a common, you might be able to pull a lot of these, and it might be a 2-cost draw 7, but generally you're not going to want to play this unless you really need to. Although it does thin out your deck, so maybe if you are having a tight little, like a issue where you don't have enough cards for a draft or something. Next, we have Lofty Denial. It's a 2-cost blue instant. It says counter target spell unless its controller pays 1. If you control a creature with flying, counter target spell unless its controller pays 4 instead. I'd rather just play consistent removal. I get this is for Azorius Flyers, but yeah, paying 1, players are going to be able to do that very often. Paying 4, that's not as common, but like, just pay 1 more blue and be able to just counter the spell. Not only does this require you to have a creature with flying, but it also requires your opponent to not have 4 mana. So I get 4 mana's a lot, but just pay an extra blue and counter it for real. Next, we have Riddle Form. It's a 2-cost blue enchantment. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may have Riddle Form become a 3/3 Sphinx creature with flying in addition to its other types until end of turn. So you have an enchantment, becomes a creature whenever you cast a non-creature spell. It's a 3/3 with flying for 2. We've been actually seeing a lot of this in blue, like bigger creatures for their mana cost. Like that seems to be a lot. And then you can just pay 3 to scry 1. So it might be nice, especially in limited. I keep bringing this up, but that's because that's what a lot of uncommons and commons are built for. In standard, I don't really see it being used, although it is nice because it does dodge board wipes, assuming that you can keep casting non-creature spells and like not doing, yeah. If you can do this right, it can dodge board wipes and you can scry with it, which is kind of nice. Next, we have Goblin Arsonist. It's a 1-cost red creature Goblin Shaman 1/1, and when it dies, you may have it deal 1 damage to any target. So, something to go in the Rakdos Aristocrat deck. I don't know if this is actually anything that would see play anymore. We have a lot better stuff, but yeah, in also a Cavalcade deck, this might see play, a 1/1 for 1, and when it dies, it's going to deal 1. So, yeah, that's pretty. I think this will see play in either Mono Red or Rakdos Sacrifice, at least in some variations of it. Next, we have an igneous Cur. It's a 2-cost red creature elemental Thog 1/2. You can pay 1 in a red, and it gets +2/+0 until end of turn. So it's kind of, it has fire breathing, but you have to do it 2 at a time. You can't do it 1 at a time, which significantly lowers the power of this. It is a dog and an elemental, which seem like they're both gonna matter. So yeah, keep an eye out for this one. Next, we have Furious Rise. It's a 3-cost red enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card until you exile another card with Furious Rise. Now, I would go into how this card works and why I think it's so cool that, like, okay, you have a 4-drop, you draw the card. Obviously, you're going to lose it next turn unless the 4-drop is no longer there. And that's really cool. But why are they reprinting this? Okay, it's not a high-price card. It is currently in Standard. It was last reprinted in Theros Beyond Death, and it was actually originally printed in Theros Beyond Death. And Theros Beyond Death and this set are going to rotate out at the same time. So it's not even like this is just keeping it in Standard for another cycle. So this feels really weird being here, but we'll have to see. Maybe they're going to change how rotation works, but this just seems really weird. Next, we have Heartfire Immolator. It's a 2-cost red creature human wizard 2/2 with prowess, and it says pay a red and sacrifice it. It deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker. Well, I don't see this really going in a Rakdos Aristocrats deck. It could, it is paying, it costs 2, which immediately removes it from Obosh, so I don't know if it will really see play, but you can sacrifice it on itself, and it just can ping things, so, I mean, maybe, but probably not. Next, we have Hellkite Punisher. It's a 7-cost red creature dragon 6/6 for 7 with flying, so already, I mean, that's not awful, but then you can pay a red and it has fire breathing, so it gets +1/+0 until end of turn. This is a very, very powerful card in limited. Once you start top decking, maybe you have 7 mana, right? So you play this. Obviously, that's a 6/6 with flying, so that's already a big threat. But then say you top deck a land, well, now that land is turning into damage. So, now you have 8 lands. You're hitting them for a ton. You're hitting them for 14. So, yeah, this is something to watch out for. Again, in limited, which seems to be the theme of today. Next, we have Treacherous. It's a 4-cost red sorcery. It says gain control of target creature, untap it, it gains haste until end of turn. Add 2 mana of any one color. So not only is this gonna perfectly go, I feel like, in a Aristocrats Rakdos deck, maybe not all of them, but like, okay, it does cost 1 more than Active Treason, and I don't know if all of them are running Active Treason, but you do get 2 mana back, so it essentially is a 2-cost. Like, you do need to have the 4 mana, but it eventually only costs you 2 mana to cast. It'd be the same if it was a 2-cost and it just says you must have 4 untapped lands. It also technically allows you to generate black mana. So for instance, say you for some reason are on turn 4, you only have 4 red lands, this thing can generate black mana for you. So very interesting. Next, we have Conspicuous Snoop. It's a red, so double devotion. Creature, goblin, rogue. Play with the top card of your library revealed. I always enjoy that. You may cast goblin spells from the top of your library. I enjoy that, but I don't enjoy when my opponent does that. And as long as the top card of your library is a goblin card, it has all activated abilities of that card. Now, I don't know how many goblins are really going to see, if goblins are going to see play in Standard, but in Historic, they have been slowly pushing goblins to try and be a tribe that exists. This card might put it over the top. You're getting card advantage. You are essentially, like, if there's a goblin with a very expensive goblin that has a cool activated ability, he can just gain that without having to actually cast it. If you combine this with Arcane Adaptation, I'm sure there's some weird gimmicky combo where you can, like, find something with a really awesome activated ability, make it a goblin using Arcane Adaptation, put it on top of your library, boom, it has all the abilities. I don't know if that's really going to see play, but, like, this is something to watch out for. Just keep that in mind. Next, we have Transmogrify. I actually really like this card. It's a 4-cost red sorcery, and it says exile target creature. So red can just poof, it's gone. That creature's controller reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a creature card. That player puts that card onto the battlefield that then shuffles the rest into their library. So it's a very big gamble. You might be getting rid of a 15/15, or not 15/15, you might be getting rid of a 5/5, but then they could get a Ulamog right off the top. And they aren't casting it, which is nice. And this could mess them up. For instance, they don't get the option to not do this. And for instance, if your opponent is playing, a Winota deck, Winota is the scariest thing there. Get rid of it, The fact that red just has pay for exile target creature, now when I'm playing against red decks, I can't be like, well, now my creature's safe. It's a 15/15, it's not dying. But now they can, and it's very similar to Chaos Warp, but it only hits creatures, and instead of revealing the top card of your library and just putting it onto the battlefield, or of the opponent's library, you can go down until you hit it. Now, here's what I'm concerned about. you can hit your own creatures. So in a very similar fashion to Luca, you play a deck that only has one creature in it that you're trying to hit, right? And it doesn't even have to have high or low CMC, right? You just go for your library, and you just exile a token made with some enchantment, and you are going to go until you hit it and just put it straight on the battlefield. So if you're in Historic, for instance, or Pioneer mod or whatever, play a creature using some Planeswalker maybe that creates a token. Cast this on it. The only creature card in your deck is Ulamog. Poof, Ulamog's on the battlefield. So another way to cheat things into play, this time costing 4. It is one time though, so not a huge fan. Next, we have a card I'm also not a huge fan of, Fiery Emancipation. It's a 6-cost red, so triple devotion. Enchantment. If a source you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, not planeswalker, oh no, it's a permanent, duh, sorry. To a permanent or player, it deals triple that damage to that permanent or player instead. Now, couple things to note about this. So this is going to triple all your creatures. This is going to triple all your burn spells. This will not triple Chandra's emblems from core set 2020 because those are not a source you control. Just keep that in mind. So this will just triple everything. So a creature that does 7 damage now does 21. Now adding 2 damage to everything, that's insane. Torbrand does that. Doubling something is insane. Tripling it is crazy. And this isn't legendary, so you can play multiple of them. Now, do I think this is going to see play? It's probably going to see as much play as Nyx Bloom Ancient, but I could be wrong. There aren't enough mid-range red decks that can really go up to 6 mana, but maybe there's some weird way you can cheat this out, or maybe this fits in a multicolored deck instead. I'm not sure, but yeah, this kind of concerns me, especially if they're going to try to do one of these in every color, which it seems like they might be. Next, we have Groots Impelhorn. It's a 5-cost 7/3 creature beast. That's it. That's a draft card right there. Next, we have Dozing Tyranno Don. It's a 2-cost creature dinosaur 3/3 defender. This creature can attack as though it didn't have defender if you control a creature with power 4 or greater. Now, this is the theme. Creature with power 4 or greater. I'm not a huge fan of this. You're getting a 3/3 for 2. Doesn't even like have trample or any cool ability. And it can't attack sometimes. You have to have some other creature. Just either pay an extra mana or get a better creature. Like, no, this isn't very good. Next, we have Warden of the Woods. It's a 6-cost creature tree folk, 5/7 with vigilance, and when it becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, you may draw 2 cards. So this is really incentivizing you not to target this with stuff, but if your opponents do, it will, like, okay. So if you played this right, this eventually it's just a 5/7, right? And as long as you make sure it doesn't die to, like, combat, it's staying around, and if it doesn't stay around, you're replacing it with 2 cards. So essentially, this is just like, you get a net of 1 card gained, and that's assuming the ability that they're using is a kill spell. If it's some weird spell that they need to do, like they need to flicker it for some reason, you know, you're drawing 2 cards. So, yeah, that's pretty interesting. I could see this maybe going in a Mutate deck. Mutate isn't that great right now, but maybe, you know, you target my stuff, I get to draw cards to hopefully help me replace it. Probably not, but it could. Next, we have Groots Uprising. I think this card's insane. It's a 3-cost green enchantment. It says when it enters the battlefield, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card. So it might not do anything, but if you're playing this in the right deck, it will do something. Creatures you control have trample. So instantly, this is going in any mono green deck. When a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. This is insane. You could print for 3 just the bottom clause. It would be insane. When it enters the battlefield, you draw a card if you control a creature with power 4 or greater. Now it's replacing itself, almost always. And then you add trample. It's saying, play big creatures, you'll draw more big creatures, and then we're going to give all those big creatures trample for 3. I think this is way undercosted. I think this should have cost at least 4, but maybe even 5. Yeah, this is insane. Next, we have a Parabola Fist Oak. It's a 4-cost green creature tree folk. Again, double devotion here. 2/3. Whenever you draw a card, it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. So just draw more cards. Simic seems to be doing that in the set. Actually, green seems to be doing this in this set, but there have been some Simic cards that care. So yeah, seems like what Simic is going to care about now is drawing cards. Sorry. Next, we have Alpine Hound Master. It's a red and a white for a creature human warrior 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, you search your library for a card named Alpine Watchdog and or Igneous Cur. We saw those, they're not that great. Reveal them, put them into your hand, shuffle your library. Although this is a 2/2 for 2 that gives you 2 creatures in your hand, so not awful. Whenever it attacks, it gets plus X plus O until end turn, where X is the number of attacking creatures. So yeah, not bad. Next, we have Vengeful Leafkin. This looks like the same art as the Leafkin we have now, but obviously all fiery now. It's a 4-cost red and green creature elemental druid. Tap, add green for okay, so whoever translated this, I think it's supposed to be tap, add green for each creature of power 4 or greater you control. So this thing could tap for like 7 mana, but if you have 7 creatures of power 4 or greater, you're probably winning. But anyway, this will at least tap for green, because it has power 4, so pretty good, but it is ramp on turn 4-ish, maybe 3 if you're ramping. Then you pay 8, and it deals damage equal to its power to target player or planeswalker, so just murdering planeswalkers and, you know, in limited, this is insane. Just keep that in mind. Next we have Meteorite. It's a 5-cost artifact. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 2 damage to any target. Nice colorless removal here, especially for limited. Tap and 1 mana of any color. Not worth it, but limited, not bad. Alrighty guys, that's going to do it for this video. Let me know what you guys thought of all the cards today. There weren't that many crazy ones. Most of them were red that I saw problems with. But yeah, if you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.